agenda of October 6, 2021 workshop meeting. Second. Moved by Councilor Presser, second by Councilor Stevens. Any additions or changes at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion approved. Second item on the agenda is for public input. Anyone wishing to address council, please rise and state your name and address.
We can make statements at this meeting?
Yeah. Right now.
Okay. I was here several other times, and I think you know who I am. Russell Snyder, 24 South Wayne Avenue in Hatfield. I lived in this borough for 35 years. I worked in this borough for 15 years. And yet, this borough is going downhill continuously. And I have things here I'd like to review, but I'm sure it'll take up a lot of time. But I want to make a few statements. And these are articles that were in the newspaper several years ago. Maybe you people don't remember. But at that time, you were going to go out for a $7 million loan. Remember that? Back in 2015? Well, you didn't go out for that loan. Then a year later, and what was that loan for? $3 million for this building. And a lot of other things that want to be done in the park. A year later, 16, another article in the Reporter. At that time, you put things in the Reporter. You don't do that anymore. At that time, you're only going to go out for a more $4 million loan. And that time, the borough building was $3.5 million. And the other $500,000 was supposed to resurface some roads. Now, what did the borough building cost? Does anybody know here? Bullshit. The borough building, the base borough contract was almost $4 million. And that did not include soft costs, architectural fees, engineering fees, etc. And if that's wrong, you tell me.
It came in at 389, I believe.
Okay, that was a little over budget. And that didn't include the architectural fees.
Architectural fees were never part of the loan, they were always in the borough costs.
Well, it's still the cost of a building. And you're lying then to the public, the taxpayers. And there was an article by our representative, which was stated, the residents of Hatfield Borough now have a beautiful $4 million facility at no extra cost to the taxpayers. Who do you think paid for this building? People like me pay my taxes every year. How can anybody make a statement like that? I'll bring up the other subjects later.
Later, under what form?
I'll come to the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't want to bother you with all this stuff that you do bad. So I do want to say one more thing. In the block I live in, it's the worst block in Hatfield Borough. And it's been that way for years. And what is the problems there? Many. The worst one in the past couple of years was stray cats. And nothing's been done about it. Oh yeah, you're going to pass an ordinance at the table. We can't do anything about that. It's destroying my property. Destroying my property. I have to put up with it because nobody will do anything. The person that's such a cat lover, Mr. Fox, hasn't been living in his residence for quite a while. Now, who's taking care of these cats? Oh, there's other people facilitating these cats. They're staying in a garage, old garage. It's filled with junk. That's where the cats are today. And other people are coming to feed these cats. There's so much cat lover that Mr. Fox was. I believe he wouldn't care for what was going on. But they're destroying my car cover on my car, custom car cover. That was quite expensive. They destroyed the old one, I bought a new one, they're destroying that. They come into my yard, I got a fence, they jump over the fence. They destroy my garden. Now I have to put up with this, because nothing's being done. It's been over a year. And you wonder why I get upset. Right, Mr. DeFinis, the reason I get upset?
Are you addressing me personally?
Yes.
So,
You're this man that threatened me, saying if I came in here and complained, you would call the police and have me removed.
I did not threaten you.
You did so.
Mr.
That
Mr.
was a
Snyder.
threat.
No, Mr. Snyder,
No,
I told
that-
you, if you were to come in here and upset the employees.
No, I was not
Now, Mr.
upsetting that
Snyder-
person. That is a lie.
Mr. Snyder, I told you if you come in and upset the employees.
I was not
that will
upsetting
happen.
that person.
That person was very upset.
No, she wasn't.
After
I
this
was more upset than that person was.
Mr. Snyder, I told you that if you come in and upset the employees,
Oh,
that you
big
will be
deal.
removed.
Well, I was just complaining. And what did you tell me?
So,
I'm
and
the
Mr. Snyder,
counsel.
every
Well,
time you
here I
come in
am.
here to complain, I've listened,
Yeah, you listen right.
all right?
You didn't listen to me hardly ever. I've been complaining of a lot of things in my neighborhood. What have you done? Nothing.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Justin Long, I live at 151 East Vine, directly behind this, building right here. I had the zoning guy, here's the Michael Trainer come out, look at debris all blocking the creek behind my home, it's causing the water to divert. When creek seems to be more elevated now, you know, since this building was built, but that, I don't have the details to say that, so let me just push that to the side. But I have a lot of trash back there, and there's piles, I have pictures. My trainer came by, took pictures. I asked what would he do if he were me. He said, I'd go back there and maybe work with your neighbor and try to clean it up. It's really not our problem, but it's piles of trash back there, and I need it removed. It's like a safety issue. I have two kids that can't swim. Now, yes, this was a bad storm, this last one, but that water came down both sides of my home, and I was in between it, you know? So I had to get my kids over to a neighbor's house. It was a very scary situation. But I just, you know, and then I came back, I went to the township building because the parcel's half borough, half township. They stated that they were gonna come look, they might have to do something with you guys. I spoke with the solicitor, vaguely, it's, I don't know what it takes, but it's something that, like, really needs some attention. Like, I don't,
You called it trash, is it debris?
it's debris, I've seen tires, I have pictures in my phone, you can see it directly from the back of this, your actual driveway, you look to the left, coming down, the creek coming from, Hatfield Village or whatever, creek coming that direction. There's two, down trees. There's one and there's like a big tree stump that was rotted, but it's like smashed in against it. You can tell it's like eroding the soil back there and everything else. It's been back there for a while. There's no, I reached out to my neighbor, I spoke with Mike. I texted my neighbor's number. I came back and asked and talked to Mike Trainer, I gave it a little bit of time, and what he stated was that he can't talk to me, I can only talk to the borough solicitor, and cut me that short right there, you know, so.
The tree you're referring to?
It's multiple trees, but yeah.
Okay. Are they on your property or are they in the stream?
They're crossing the bed of the stream.
But not on your property?
No, they're not on my property.
They're upstream?
They're upstream.
Okay.
And it's like a doghouse, it's like a piece of a deck smashed in there. It's way taller than me, standing in the creek bed. It causes the creek, it's starting to erode back there and widen the creek, change the path and the flow of the water. It's,
You're not gonna like part of this answer
okay,
on what we're familiar with.
okay.
Department of Environmental Protection has such strict rules as to what we can do to screw that. It's just unbelievable. Maybe I'll let Elizabeth or Harper.
Okay, we spoke on the phone,
Yes, we did.
remember?
Yes, we did.
I tried to explain that, Mike and Chad, our engineer, had looked at the issue.
Did you guys see the pictures that Mr. Trainer took too?
It wasn't the, yeah, we did see the pictures, but we
Okay.
actually looked at the creek.
Okay,
And, the borough has in the past done some stream cleanup kinds of things, which you thought might have made it worse, but that's beside the point. When we did those things, it was easier to get a general permit, meaning DEP would just say, okay, you're only doing this much, fine. Chad's belief is that, DEP would require full engineering for a permit just to clean out the stream. And, the engineering itself could be tens of thousands of dollars in order to do that. We talked about the fact that we don't own the rainwater. The borough doesn't own the rain. The borough also has pictures of streets completely flooded, you know, in that last storm that was so bad.
oh yeah, that's understandable.
Right, and so I'm not sure that this is the borough's, not sure this is the borough's problem. And if you want to take care of this issue, you're going to need to budget for, engineering to get it done, and then hope we can get a grant. There are some grants available, but I don't know that, you know, there's no guarantee that you can get the grant and what you should do about it. But Chad thought the real difficulty would be getting a permit from DEP. I think the last time you guys did a stream cleanup, like you can correct me, but it was up off of, Broad Street. Next to that, brick building, there was a factory at one point. I thought we did that.
In, Hampton.
The Hampton building, right? And we did that work, but that was under a general permit. And so it would be both a budgetary item and expensive to clean it up. And you told me you were consulting an engineer, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah, I am trying, I have multiple issues.
Right, and his property is also located in the floodplain, so he may well be more affected than many people in the borough when it rains like that, because he lives in the floodplain.
Yeah, I understand that
Right.
statement, but you're up the street, you're widening and putting a bridge up there, we're increasing the velocity to this water, which I'm at the lowest point, so yes, that is a true statement, but that doesn't mean, you know, I make that just like anybody else, like, my safety should be in
Right.
consideration also. But you stated to me that, we can't just be worried about one person. I don't know if I wanna say that, just one person, but it's more than just one person.
Right, and what I was trying to say was,
Well, you said that.
what I was trying to say was that you have a property that's located in the floodplain. We discussed whether or not you have flood insurance, and you say you did.
You guys did too, but you elevated yours up,
Right.
right? You elevated it up.
I'm
Your
not
stormwater
aware of
goes
that,
in the
but I'm
creek.
not, I'm not.
Oh, you can see, you can look at the trees and tell that the land has been elevated up.
I'm
The
not.
stormwater goes into the creek, that's supposed to be grandfathered in, okay? So, that's also more water coming into the creek, so it's multiple things. But asking to get the trash, we're going into all this, you wanna talk about them in the floodplain, well, that's also a factor also, right? Am I right or wrong?
Right, but it's also a factor that the water coming down is coming from, in part, Hatfield Township.
Yes.
And properties upstream of you.
Yes.
As well as coming down.
As other
in the
properties,
form of
and
rain.
as we build up, as
Right.
the, bar up the street puts more asphalt or concrete, when you put more of that, you put more impervious surface.
That is true.
This lot is an impervious surface tied into the street, that water comes down there too, and it comes down into that creek. The wall said is my responsibility that's tied into the bridge that goes across. There's a lot of multiple factors. And I'm worried about the safety of my family, so don't take me wrong, I understand all that. You know, I
And-
do.
Yes, now the other thing is that, Mr. Long's filed a number of right-to-know requests that the borough has tried to help with. Among them, where we sent you that link to the website that has the interactive map for floodplains on it, did you get that yet?
Yeah, I did look at
Okay.
that, but that's
And-
it's a thing, it's a picture with, yeah,
Right.
that's common knowledge.
Okay, well, okay, it's a helpful thing if you're thinking about work in the floodplain. The second thing is, I know that you're coming in on Friday to look at the building plans.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, what I'm trying to say to you is, he believes that his stormwater issues were caused by this building,
No,
and,
I think that it's another factor in my issue. I'm not saying
Right.
that it's just your building that's causing it. It's multiple factors.
I understand, but our engineer does not agree with that assessment.
Of course he
Nor does
doesn't.
our engineer agree.
But why would he? Because you didn't file with the, Montgomery County Conservation, okay? You didn't file with the DEP with the stormwater, because you put it in as grandfathered in or half of an acre.
Right.
So of course he's gonna say that.
Right, I know that.
That's correct statement, right? Is it
That's not
grandfathered in?
correct.
Is
and
it
I'm not-
grandfathered in?
I'm sorry, I can't talk if you're gonna talk, it's
All right,
up to you.
I'll be quiet, go ahead.
Okay. What I'm trying to say to you is our engineer did not agree that the building of this building, which replaced a building, was a problem, as the footprint of this building is actually smaller than the footprint of the old building.
But the old thing had
And-
stone,
And no, stone is impervious.
the percentage of the.
Packed stone is impervious, and,
Okay.
and many townships and boroughs regard it that way.
Okay.
If there was an increase in impervious, it was less than 1,000 square feet. And
Well,
that,
it cha- it
listen,
changed
we're
it.
trying to help here. We brought the engineer out, the manager, the engineer, and the solicitor went through your issues,
Okay.
okay? And what we're trying to say to you is, the borough did not cause the issue. Now, you can disagree.
I'm not saying that the borough.
That is the
I said
issue.
it's
Now, if the
another-
borough wants to.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Jason.
Justin.
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 Sorry.
Justin?
Yes, sir.
I'm John.
Okay.
I live next door to these guys,
Okay.
all right? The property is at the same level, okay, out back is the same,
Okay.
okay? It's been that way. Before it was all asphalt, not stone, all right? So that's similar. The building's hogging up more of the area than it did before because it had more runoff because it was more parking lot before, asphalt. Okay,
Stone,
now,
right?
back to this.
Packed stone?
Pardon?
Asphalt or packed stone?
Asphalt.
It was asphalt before you built the building.
No, yeah, they had the building back there and they had it asphalted out,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
So, if they're telling you that, I've lived here since '88.
Okay.
That's a fact, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'll back that part up. Question, with trees, now I had a problem one time where one of my trees on my property fell over into the creek, and it was my responsibility to take care of it,
Okay.
all right? Are these trees part of somebody's property that are falling over?
Yes.
Shouldn't they be responsible for the tree removal? Yes, right? Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so
So what,
we should probably address our neighbors, sorta. Okay.
Okay.
I guess we should contact them and say, hey, you gotta move the tree out, I mean?
Tree and debris, it's loaded up with debris
Okay.
also.
Now, debris issues. When we get rain, and you were talking about, like all the stuff that comes down, I have the same problem.
Okay.
But it's not particularly coming from, the borough itself. We were talking earlier, Steve Vickard here was mentioning about pallets of bromide that stacked up on my property. The weirdest thing I ever had years ago was big ice cubes. And they didn't, we don't have anything like that in the borough. They came from upstream, you know, it went through town, and they stacked themselves on my tree line. It was kind of the coolest thing I ever seen, but I was like, you know, this just happens. Like, in that case, I just had to wait for warmer days. You know, it's
But
not like we went out there with ice picks or something. But the debris, yeah, you can get everything that comes down. I understand tires, whatever, it's coming from somewhere else.
But do we just leave, I understand that, but there's, I spoke with the neighbor, he's like, I'm not gonna go barking up no tree, nobody said nothing to me, so I'm not doing anything, I'm not spending my money on that. So,
You can cut the tree up.
no, speaking to the neighbor, I even offered to give him assistance with it, okay?
Yeah.
But he said he's not barking up a tree, he's basically not talking to me, he doesn't want to talk about it, he said nobody say nothing to me, so whatever.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, the last storm, I had plenty of water.
yeah, but this has been before the last storm,
I
it's years
understand.
of stuff.
I get plenty of water, and I've actually had a flooded out basement. Now, I have flood insurance, and I had an experience with flood insurance, like, you know, my heater went out, and I said, maybe I'll call.
Yeah, I have 5 feet in my basement.
Do you have flood insurance, since you're in the floodplain?
Yes, I do, sir.
Good. Now,
It's not really good, but.
no, it's not cool at all, because when I wanted to get my heater repaired, I asked the guy, I said, by the way, what's the expense gonna be here, you know? And what about if I needed a heater? And I said, what's a heater good for these days? I have no idea. And he said, I don't know, maybe $6,000-7,000. And I said, okay. I said, and so I called up my insurance, found out I had a deductible, it's $5,000. I said, well, this is wonderful, you know.
You just go buy a heater, right? Yeah.
Why put the claim in? They're only gonna raise my, and they, little by little, each year they've raised the rates anyway.
Yeah,
But
every time they
you put a claim,
declare a
you probably get
disaster,
a
it comes
jumbo
up.
increase or something like that, but I have similar problems where on my property, I'm cleaning up things that are mine, you know, I mean, they just come.
Yeah, but-
And I also have you know, I have the flooding issues, you know, and that has nothing to do with this building, because again, I've lived here all this time. Their surface is very similar, except the building used to be this way, now it's this way.
Yeah, but, okay, so, for example, if I was to do the same thing that you guys did here, I understand you're saying you move the building this way, I could not do it without doing a stormwater management. I would not be able to do it. I would not be able to get it passed through you guys.
All right.
Your zoning guy even stated the same thing. He said, I had my excavator there with the guy that does the excavations. He said, can I build that same building down the street and you'd approve it? His answer was no.
All right.
No.
Well, you're asking me a question.
I'm just telling you, you're saying, you're telling me, okay, this building, I'm not saying that all my problems are coming from this. It's not, but it's adding more to something that's already a problem. And if you guys go through your minutes, it's a watershed. You guys state that this is protected. You don't want people just dumping more water into it. But when this building was built, it's, oh, this is okay because we're saving money, and you put more, so you're adding more to a problem.
Let me ask you.
That was not Chad's view. That was not Chad's
There's
view.
legal limits, percentages that we had to follow, just like any resident has to follow. And that's what the engineer's position is.
And the difference is,
Okay,
this
so we'll
building
figure
was
that out.
a replacement building. It was not brand new. It was already here. There was a building here, not this building.
What part of the building from the old building is still here?
So, no, the way you gotta think about it is impervious ground.
Covered, yes.
And so, what the engineer said is that the.
What percentage impervious is this? Do you guys know that?
I don't know what the number is, but
Okay.
the engineer is saying that it's the same as it was with this building versus the old building. So therefore, there is no impact to stormwater drainage, because the impervious soil is the same. And so so to say that the building is partially causing this, the engineer disagrees with that, because the impervious amount is the same, does that make sense? So does that make sense, do you agree with that? If it's the same, then it's not gonna have any impact on stormwater.
Is this building new construction? I understand what you're saying, but is this building new construction?
It
The other
doesn't matter
building,
what, it doesn't matter what it's new construction. Do you understand the idea of why you have pervious soil and why you have limits on that?
yes.
Okay, so if the impervious soil is the same, then it doesn't matter if the building's bigger, it doesn't matter if it's horizontal or taller, excuse me. It doesn't matter if it's horizontal, vertical on the property, it's about the amount of impervious soil that you have. And so, the reason why it's grandfathered in is because they kept the design the same, so that we wouldn't have to go through a whole bunch of, changes for stormwater management. And that's the way the regulation allows us to do that, by keeping it the same.
I
So that's
understand
part of
that,
the
but,
criteria. So, the reason I'm saying that is to emphasize the point, I know what you're saying, you're expressing, you feel like this building has created more. And what we're saying is that's not the case, okay?
Okay, well-
I think and John was attesting to this, that the problem isn't, even if it was more here, that's not where the water's coming from. It's coming from other places that's creating your problem, right?
yeah, but when you open up the bridge, it's allowing the flow, the water bottlenecks at my property, okay? It does. So the creek is wider, and it gets, as soon as you go down the creek, it gets thinner, and that water comes at a high velocity there, starts building up there, goes over, and raises up that wall. Now, the wall is mine, the guys come and they mortar the bridge and all that, my wall ties right into the bridge, that's like, no, that's yours. I own that, from what I understand, is that correct? Is that correct, that I own that whole wall, because that wall is getting beat up and that water is rising more and more each storm. I understand we've had some crazy storms, but, like, what do we do about it? Like, I'm trying to figure out what I can do to protect my family, that's why I'm asking for this.
So help me understand too, what exactly are you asking for the borough to do?
Well, the trash back there, that comes that always comes, and it's causing the water to come in different directions when it's at a higher level. So even if you reach out to the person that owns it, that's fine. But that's not happening, you know? And the only reason I'm putting in the right to knows is so I can give that to my engineer, so he can say, look, this is what you gotta do to make your family safe. Otherwise, like, what do I do, sell my house for cheaper, lose on my house, like, or have a hazard situation for my family, my kids? So I have no choice. So I'm reaching out in several ways. Yes, it's a lot of emotions involved with it. It's been stressful. I have been fighting with insurance companies every day, so I'm sorry if I'm a little, off, but when I come here and I talk, it's like, you can only talk to the solicitor, it's like, I'm cut off, as if like, I don't have action against you.
Well, let me say this too. So, once anybody says that they're talking to lawyers, it's out of our hands. So I'm gonna defend Mike on this, because once someone says they're talking to a lawyer, he steps back and says, now you gotta talk to my lawyer.
Yes, I did,
And I did return your call,
yes,
and we had a good talk, I thought, okay.
yes.
All right, so let me make a suggestion,
May I?
if the council's willing,
May I?
why don't we wait until after he's had a chance to talk to his engineer? And then if the borough's okay with it, to authorize, Mike and Chad to meet with his engineer and him and see,
See if we can
if
come to
there's
some kind of
anything
agreement.
that we, could do to help.
Township, part of that also.
Well, it depends on what his engineer recommends.
What's on the other side of the street?
Gotta see.
Actually, the property behind this building is owned by someone in the township.
Yeah.
But there's also a stream on his side of the creek, and there's a stream on ours, the stream that runs down here.
So-
So it's a little bit more complicated than just the stream that runs between us.
So, just a couple points of clarification, as Mr. Ferguson is correct. Once someone conveys that it's become a litigious type atmosphere, and or they're communicating with a lawyer, I inform staff, the only communications you're to have is what your department can have. Here's a permit. here's what your electric bill is, here's what your sewer bill is. We cannot take up the subject matter that is a concern for that resident, all right? So that becomes the point of contention with the resident. But once they reach out to the solicitor, acting as their own legal counsel, we cannot advise them anymore. That's
no.
the first thing. Second thing is, when Mr. Long did reach out to the borough and me, I gave him communications from the county and then the federal guidelines to reach out for any relief that they had, okay? And I don't know if he did that or not. I don't know if he filled out the applications or registered with the county and or the federal government. When FEMA got involved, all right? But that's what we were instructed to do for emergency management from the county. And any residents that have issues, send them these links, have them sign up, we'll see what we can do to help, okay? So we did that, all right? We did that. We informed the residents that contacted us, here's the links, you have to register with the county and or the federal government, all right? So, furthering that, in my communications with the emergency management coordinator at the county, we discussed the whole issue of the streams again. And his advice, which was the same advice that our engineer gave, was you cannot go into those streams without a permit. So, it's the same consistent advice across several channels.
We sort of have our marching orders there, but we still need to try to come to a resolution, solution for what may occur in 100 years.
So,
From number two.
So, the residents are to register with the county and FEMA, because they're the ones that have the organizations that can, the county had a whole volunteer group that was going out and doing these types of work, all right? In the streams without equipment, just bodies, okay? But until they register and make them aware of it, they won't come and do it.
I did do that, sir.
So you registered with,
Yeah, they told us to send pictures of
Okay.
your issues and all that, yes, I did fill that out.
and
But
what was the next step? Did they have a contact you back or?
I haven't been contacted back, I'm telling you, I've been juggling every day, man.
Right.
We're working, I don't have heat at my house, I don't have anything, I haven't got an insurance check yet. I've been juggling.
No, I get it,
Okay?
I get it.
But, just to clarify one thing, I reached out to Mike a few times. It was, the reason why I reached out to you, and I said this to you on the phone, I didn't get any kind of direct answers or anything. Mike, I didn't feel like you even gave no kind of sense of compassion. You didn't even have no compassion when I talked to you. So that's why I called the solicitor, and then you made immediate action like I'm playing as a lawyer or getting action, and that shouldn't have been like that. And I told you that during our conversation. Did I say that at the end?
We
I
did
did say
discuss
thank
that,
you.
but I also said to you that, you had certainly given many people at the borough the impression that this was all the borough's fault and you were gonna sue us. And so,
Did I say that? What if the impression? No, the impression.
that is the
As
impression
soon,
that.
when I was speaking with him, you know, as soon as I said right to know, whole demeanor changed. Whole demeanor changed.
Right, but we're fulfilling those right to know.
I understand, but the first time I filled out a right to know, his demeanor changed, and that's why I felt the need to reach out to you.
So let me see if we can reach a resolution here. I'm gonna suggest again that since you have an engineer who wants to see plans, and since we gave you the website for the floodplain map, which you can move around,
The engineer has that.
good,
That's-
and
You're
you're
telling me
gonna come
something
in
he
on
has.
Friday to see the building plans, which may
Yes.
or may not provide any interesting information, but you're gonna see them. Why don't you talk to your engineer, and if your engineer's got some ideas, maybe we have him, maybe meet with the borough engineer or Mike or somebody and see whether there's something else that we can do. may not just be us.
And
It may
then-
be us, the township, the other property owner who lives on the other side of this, and
So that's the long term. Short term, is there a contact with the county that if in fact there is volunteers or a program to help with debris and cleanup, that we can assist with all?
But it's, like I said,
There's two different.
Ken has to be contacted, the guy that owns the property. I will help him too,
No,
but
you have debris on your property.
He doesn't own the property.
I have debris that came from that property or my property that I am gonna get out, but yes, I want some kind of contact to him.
He doesn't own that property. That property is owned by the resident on Berry Drive. It comes down and actually ends the borough.
Mr. Walner,
Now,
who owns the creek?
it appears to be the resident on Berry Drive.
I own from like the back of this building here and both sides to almost the road.
So you actually own both sides of the creek?
Yes,
Yeah, and your next door neighbor going that way owns both sides of the creek?
going up to yours and then it turns down, yes.
Right, okay.
And it's causing the water, instead of going, following that path, which is understandable if it comes up and goes across, now it's coming up through the middle and coming up the other side of my house.
So my question was, you have debris on your residential property that you would like to get removed.
Yes, but
That's where I'm offering some form of assistance.
I don't know.
Who has that permit?
If he can get the debris to the front yard, the county can have the debris management company come and pick it up.
it's there.
So we gotta get a contact that can help us with that.
Well, Mike has been talking to the county emergency director, so maybe Mike can get us some of that. And he registered, Mike, he
But-
registered, he
But
said
they
he
won't
registered.
go into the yard and pick it up, it has to be out of the
And you just said it's certified.
It came there from the storm, it was so big that I can't.
Okay, so we won't be able to get, you're saying that the county won't come and get the stuff that's too big?
Well, they won't, no, they have a debris management company, they'll come pick it up. If you've been to a
No, but he
development,
said he can't move it because it's too big.
no, they have a shear. If it's out by the road, they'll have
It's
to
out
have
by,
a
it's
shear.
out by the road.
It's out by the road, okay, then why don't we help
But-
him get that
But,
service?
but anything else has to be brought to the road.
Okay. And then there was just one other thing, my other right to know, when the paperwork was sent, I did ask for a permit in it, but the permit consisted, like, when you read through the paperwork, it said it consisted of, like, it was a DEP permit for working in the creek. It consisted of pictures and all that. I just got the permit paperwork and some of it was like half filled out, okay? He said, I was like, this seems to be an incomplete permit. So what I had to do, no, the statement, like, that's all we have, that's what you said. So then what I did was I rewrote it, asking for more, and I guess you're given a little bit more time to look at it, but it was submitted to me impartial. And I have it on email, and he sent me the email
So
from
let me
it.
just say this, I actually know what a DEP general permit looks like. That's what he asked for, that's what he was given, it's a one sheet of paper. Now, the application might have the documents that he's looking for, but a permit itself is a one sheet of paper that just has like a signature and a date on it. And that's what he asked for, and that's what he was given.
Following the letter of the law, I gave what was requested.
Right, that's
Excuse me, I did not give what was requested.
the right to
The
know.
right to know officer did. Now, the right to know officer sometimes has to utilize staff to find things. I was the conduit to find it.
Right, and I explained, when we're doing this, if you, did you do another request asking for
Yeah,
the
I
application?
did have one,
Okay.
but I just.
We
I'm
do
sorry.
have an obligation to do a reasonable investigation, and in some cases that involves asking Chad, does your office have the application? Remember, we had a different engineer then? It was, Mark Matucci.
Yeah.
We had a different engineer, so we asked Chad, could you please look at your old files and see, or Mark Matucci's old files, they split, and see We don't have,
I understand what you're saying, but
That was
like,
years ago,
when you
too.
say the permit and the application, you had to get that to get the permits. I'm sorry.
no,
I understand
hold
what
on
you're
for a
saying
second,
now.
hold on for a second.
Yes,
How long are we talking about? 9?
no, it was 2009. Yeah.
9 years,
9 years,
okay.
exactly.
Right, 9 years. So, when you asked for the permit, we got you the permit, okay?
Okay.
Now
I'm
we have
good.
to go back and
I'm good.
look and see if we still have the application, and if it had been like 6 months ago, we'd probably have it right here in the building. But it was 9 years ago, and so, you know, we don't keep everything forever. We're not required to, we don't. And, of course, remember we moved out of the old building, down the street to a rental building, where we lived for a while this was being built, then we moved back. So, all those are reasons why we didn't have what he wanted, but we're looking for it now because he put a request in for an application. And Mike and I specifically asked our current engineer if he would check the old engineer's old files to see if it's in there.
Is that something that'll be available for a private meeting? Or at least have an answer as to whether they know? what they
Probably
have?
not,
Okay.
probably not,
They do
okay?
the same thing that we do. You know, they store them and then dispose of them in certain periods of time.
Right,
Rule of thumb is 7 years. Now, there's some things we have to keep forever, deeds, things like that. But, you know, rule of thumb, 7 years.
so he may not have it, but he said he would look.
Right, but I meant, would he know by Friday meeting whether he has it or not?
I don't think so.
I don't think I can ask right now.
We can ask, but I doubt it. But he can, you know, he'll be seeing that, we actually only have one set of building plans, he wanted the building plans. So we asked him to make an appointment and come in, and that's what Friday's meeting is. Friday, there's a meeting, he's gonna come in, the right to know officer's gonna have the building plans and he can look at it. He also asked, and I wanna be clear about this, he asked if he could take pictures of them, and he can. If he wants to take a photo of a piece of the plan or all of the plan, he can do that, that's all allowed under the right to know law. Okay, it's all permitted, and he can do that.
Of the land development site plan.
Right.
Excuse me, what was,
The land development site plan is what you're gonna look at on Friday
okay,
for this building, this current building that we're in, right?
okay. That has, like, yeah, the site
It's
work,
several
everything.
pages
It's the land
long.
development site plan.
Right, it's several pages long, and you'll be able
Oh,
to.
yeah, I don't want like internal stuff, it's, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so we're trying to help here, and I do think it would be helpful if he has an engineer who has some suggestions that he talks to us, but bear in mind that if he owns both sides of the creek, he has certain, rights and responsibilities that we don't have. Okay, because we don't own it, and his neighbor has rights and responsibilities that we don't have. So, I mean, it's not as easy as saying to the borough, you clean it up. It's not our water, not our creek. You know, we can try to be helpful, and we are trying to be helpful.
I understand, but you gotta think that the way that creek rises, you got sewer drains going down there too, and that water's going up over there. And even when I was back there in the creek, that storm was bad, but it blew the tops up. But when that creek rises, then that's going into the sewer system too, which is, can also be a potential, like, in years to come, if this starts becoming more of a problem, it's gonna be a big issue, you know?
Yeah, we've been working on that.
Yeah, I understand, but it's like, they're always, when this creek gets up, they're underwater, because they're really
Just so
not
you
that up.
know, we've been spending money every year for the last 10 years, 12 years, trying to stop what's called I&I, infiltration and inflow.
I understand.
Every year, the borough budgets a certain amount of money for
But
that.
that's the lowest point.
No, we're trying to stop the rainwater getting into the sewers.
I know, but that's the lowest point, so if you're at the lowest point and it's getting in there, you can fix all the way up there, but backwards is the way to go, not from there
Well,
down.
okay, so hold on for a second, I'm not an engineer, I really
We
think
both
it
aren't,
would be
but,
good.
yeah, but you can
I
see it's
really
underwater.
think it would be good if
That's
after
fine.
your engineer
But I
talks
need the
to
paperwork,
you-
he told me, once I get the paperwork, then I'll start my process, and I'm happy that
Right, and
we
we'd
can
be
do that.
happy to talk to him if he
Okay.
has suggestions. okay?
Thank you, I
All right?
appreciate it.
Everybody
sorry about, it's a lot of motions and,
No, it's
you
what it's
know.
for, but like you said, just realize that we are spending money, I mean, because every time we engage our engineer, it's costing us money to try and work with you and your engineer to figure out what can be done,
Yeah,
so.
well, you guys got a bunch, I got the same thing myself too, so I spending money, I understand that, 'cause I'm gonna have to do it too. It's understandable. Okay.
Last point of interest, over 4 square miles of township property, streams, flow into 7/10 of 1 square mile, 0.67 square miles. Okay?
You should have a little more compassion for your residents, though, Mike, you don't really
Over
care.
over 4 square miles of stormwater passes through this borough in that street.
We keep building.
Republic? Continue item 3 is our announcements.
Our office will be closed Friday, October 8th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. for employee safety training. Our office will be closed Monday, October 11th in observance of Columbus Day. Next borough council meeting is October 20th, regular meeting here at 7:30 in council chambers. Kirk is scheduled to meet Wednesday, October 27th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Halloween walkthrough will be held Friday, October 29th, from 5 to 7 here at our office. And the next planning commission meeting is scheduled for November 1st at 7 p.m. Here in council chambers.
Another dates to Harwood? Not, fourth item on our agenda is, 52/60 North Market Street minor subdivision.
So, this project, was presented to the borough, and we did a preliminary, with our engineers, did a preliminary, review, and Mr. Jeff Work from, Vets Engineering will, actually, do we have a, can you go through to the, next, there you go. That's
There it
it.
is,
That's it. Borough council should have gotten, correct?
It's in the back.
So, the engineers had done a review. Mr. Word can actually responded, and Lindsay, if you go no further down. I am. So Jeff, do you want to start with, your response? How do you want to start?
Unfortunately, I don't have any of my notes, it's been a hectic 24 hours.
I know,
as you
I know. Go a little further. There we go, right there. Start there, okay?
Thank you, that helps a lot. Item 1, and a lot of these are will comply, so I don't want to take your time to just read everything and say will comply, but rather say, these are will complies, and, if you have questions, you go ahead and answer them, but on the person's letter, 1 through 4 are all will complies, with no issue with that. 5 is the number of units. There are 2 existing units in the apartment building. We'll note that on the plan. A lot of these are just going to be notes on the plan, both on the plan and annotations and such. The existing building is not handicap accessible, so we don't know if there's any utility to putting in 2 handicap spaces. If you recall, a lot of those old houses along the North Market and anywhere in the borough sit up 3 or 4 people. That certainly could be done if the need arises. And we do have the land to do it if we need to on that side. 6, size and use of future building on lot 2 may be impacted by the number of parking spaces. This is understood. Again, the intent of the plan is to get a sketch that the borough is comfortable with, that Howard can then go ahead and market the property, and the person that's buying the property says, well, these are the things I have to do. This is the general size of the building, and also to provide with land development. And we can certainly add that in there. Based on the county tax maps, there's an alley behind it. There is an alley behind it, but when you go to Google Earth and look carefully, or if you go out to the site, it's all green. And a good portion of that alley is green, not built. So it makes no sense for us to go ahead and start building impervious cover or semi-impervious cover in stone and working on the alley. We have a good, good all-weather entrance on the street. And I'm not 100% sure we have rights to use that.
Isn't there an elevation change there as well?
Yes, thank you. And there's probably about 18 inches from the back of the garages and that elevation that the rest of the parking lot is down to the alley. So it would really make sense to connect to it. The other thing I noticed, if you look at Google Earth, is that there's two ways out. One of the ways is completely blocked with cars that are parked there. And they may not know it's an alley, they may not know others may have rights. It's just not to me, it's not the right place to go.
We have a couple situations like that, where there was an alley there, and there's grass there now. The alley may go for a little bit, the other people never extended it. But this one has the elevation change, and it makes it problematic for them to access it.
Non-sketch plan, we'll provide a, existing condition plan that'll show lot one as it is. 10, garbage and recycling will be picked up at the curb. I believe everybody in that stretch has curb pickup. Really makes sense to have a full-size trash truck's gonna come all the way in the lot and back out. 11, common driveway easement. We do have a note on the plan that there will be a common driveway easement that will have to be developed in a manner satisfactory to the borough and Kate, the solicitor. 12, emergency service providers. I guess you were going to input from the fire marshal.
Yeah, the zoning officer, was gonna take care of that, communicating with the fire. Zoning officer is also the assistant fire marshal, but he wanted to run it by him first.
We did show the fact that you can get a full-size fire truck into the unit, into the driveway. Realistically, they would probably pull up out front and run hoses. 13, additional comments. Well, of course, as subdivision made their own application, there would be comments to be addressed by the person doing the development. Questions?
Does everybody know where the property is?
Can we go back to the plan?
Yeah.
Somebody said, I see you have a zoning review in here and it doesn't mention this. Are the garages across the back, across the proposed property line?
Right, what we've noted is that portion of the garage, and I will modify them there further, that portion of the garage and that portion of the foundation that's left over will all be removed to provide, I believe, that 4 foot of offset at such time that the subdivision will occur.
Okay, and they
We
would be
talked about
removed
it.
with the subdivision, that's my
Yes,
question.
yeah, the
Okay.
note is on there, all embellishable.
The note says when lot one's developed, I think it would be better if you removed it when the subdivision occurs. Otherwise, you have to get variance, one or the other, right?
Yeah,
You can't have a garage that comes right up to the property line.
I can make that change.
You know, okay. If somebody looks at it, they might think that they get to get it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
So this was, reviewed by the, planning commission on Monday night. And, the chairman of the planning commission was unable to attend, but did send an email, and, Mr. Work did respond to those, concerns as well. That would be, that, all right?
2 spaces per unit are provided for the apartments. There is a net reduction in impervious cover and runoff, and that is a DFP, it's recognized by DEP and your ordinance. When the dust settles, we generate less runoff than before development, because we're taking out a lot of parking area to make that proposal. And then landscaping will be provided with land development, lighting with land development, those are customary things to look at in your
that letter, was provided, and then the fire marshal is going to look at it as well. But the, traffic engineer did also, provide his comments.
I believe the traffic is all will comply.
Yes. So if you have any comments, you have any concerns, let us know, and, they can incorporate it into their plan. Right?
Correct.
And you're not planning any building right now?
Nothing's planned at all. You know, Howard's just taking care of business.
Again, not being the technical engineering side, but if this is plans approved, and then a buyer comes in and they look at all these permitted uses, they would have to slow down if they wanted to change something.
The buyer would basically start with a survey, would propose a subdivision, propose a land development, probably at the same time. I would think that would be a decorating submission and approval process. You would obviously know all of the conditions that the borough is looking for at this level, and then also apply with the subdivision land development code.
And as a non-conforming use now, whatever it is now can continue,
Yeah, the apartments that are there can keep.
right? Because they're not conforming, they're allowed. I mean, unless they get abandoned. In other words, if we stop using it for the non-conforming apartments and it becomes something else, then we can't go back to them. I think actually, this, you could say this property probably has better chance of being redeveloped than left the way it is. But they'd have to come in, get the development approval to do that, which is a commercial property.
Anybody?
Thank you.
So no official action of borough council is requested, because this is merely a sketch plan, correct?
I would like to have a sketch plan approval, but I also recognize that doesn't carry any real weight legally. But it's more of a guide then for whomever then develops, has an idea what the borough is looking for and what the discussions were and how they proceed.
So would it be your request that we put it on the agenda for the regular meeting just to discuss it, if there's any other concerns? I'm not in favor of sketch plan approvals, because they get misinterpreted as real approvals, and, you know, the plan's not that developed. But if you want something further, would you want to hear it again at the regular meeting? See if anybody has a concern?
Fire one.
Right, so we should see you again. Right?
Yes, your code does not require sketch plan submissions, so therefore it cannot be constituted to be an approval.
Or some clever lawyer will argue it.
I know, and people certainly make their own interpretations.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Good seeing you all.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Stops in once a week at least.
If you see him, tell him to call me sometime.
I will.
All right,
Bye.
thanks. Take care.
So, you don't think we should act on that at all then?
Well,
I agree with you.
I just don't, I think it's only a sketch plan, doesn't require the borough to take a formal action, and I'm afraid it would be misconstrued by the next body. Look, I got approval, there's a resolution, it's only a sketch plan, you know, and I do think it would be helpful for them to know if any of you sees a problem, then they can deal with it and change the plan.
They can find out next, right?
Right. Right.
Like, where exactly is this property?
You know where, the old Snyder's used to be? Where Doyle's is?
Yeah.
Where Doyle's is across the street from Gainon's office. Gainon's office. Dr. Gaiman, chiropractor.
Okay. We have, reports from our committee chairs and mayor. Anyone have information to share with council this evening? Those for committee meetings for budget purposes. Strategic planning, I think we've touched on everything. Any other questions for public works director? Regarding the strategic planning? And, police report that was filed, public safety.
Jane, do you want to bring up the speed on what, happened Monday?
We had our reaccreditation assessment by the state. We do that once every 3 years. So this year was a little bit different. We had, the state did the week before, they had access to all our files online for the first time. And so they did that portion of the assessment took about a week. And then they came out Monday to actually physically see the facility and make sure that we were in compliance with everything that we need. And we've been tentatively told to be recommending us for reaccreditation, so we should be in good shape with that.
Yeah, I've seen the baton.
I am.
Who's doing it now?
Quite happily so,
Grand.
yes. So, I conned him into it. So, no, I won't be there for the next reassessment. I will have been retired, so.
I ran into one of your retirees last week. Patrick.
Okay, yes, he's busy knocking on doors.
And just so you, I think all council knows how hard it is to achieve this accreditation through state police, correct?
It is through the state itself. It's through the police chiefs.
How many police departments is it?
I think we are up to 134 out of, I think there's more than 1,200 police departments in Pennsylvania.
So there's 134 that are accredited.
Yeah.
in the state.
So, I won't even be around for that. I'll be following that on Facebook.
Which state works out by that?
Yeah, but we haven't done anything with an architect or anything like that yet, so that's still very much,
Is that something new or something that was there a long time and I didn't pay attention?
it may have been there for a while. I know when they were bulldozing everything, I think they had to do a lot of the one call.
Yeah, they had to mark a lot of things out when they were demolishing.
Destroying,
the building.
yeah. So, I know it's gonna be further set back off the road, and hopefully we'll have 2 ways to get in, so we can either hit Orvilla Road or be on Cowpath. So, that's what we're hoping. So the one thing that, my oversight in putting into the, police report for this month too was, we recently had training for the law enforcement. It's called the LEDI program. It's through the DA's office, but basically it's for, if you have an addiction issue, you can walk into any police station in Montgomery County at this point, and the officers know where to look to hook you up with getting the assistance you need, whether it's inpatient or whatever it may be. So I think they're out of all the counties in Pennsylvania. I think Montgomery County is the 10th to go on board with this, and it's being spearheaded by the AG's office. So we all had need some training on that, and so now if anyone presents themselves at our police department, we'll be able to find a bed for them. Just a nice alternative to be able to have.
Any questions on, activity report? Not a whole lot there, thank you, good.
do was the, North Penn Industrial Preliminary Sketch Plan that the, we disturbed out tonight. Billing, staff continues to monitor the delinquencies, and, there was a major upgrade to the, portal, the electric portal, recently. We thought that our contractor had put the information on the portal, how to, re-access, to re-register, and when they took it down, it did not get posted. Once we found out that it was not posted, we, communicated on through social media that the portal will be down until we get that information back up. It was put back up yesterday, and, residents can return to the portal, re-register under the same format they did before, but the portal had the, redesigned, and again, formatted for security reasons.
And we let everyone know on social media is back up and running.
I'm not sure if we did that, but we will. Let's see. Project updates. The, East Lincoln Avenue Bridge is coming right along, and they're hopefully going to be done early in November. The ADA ramps have been done, and then the, roadway resurfacing, has started, on South and, North Wayne Avenue and, Plain Avenue. So the milling has been done, all the, manholes have been, grouted, raised and grouted, and, paving is, we're gonna start, base repair. Base repair starting tomorrow. And if you go down there, you'll see that it's marked out, base repair areas. And then, once that's done, you can come in and get the paving.
Again, we're letting people on social media know everything that's going on.
Yes, we are.
The day they started, they let us know. The day they started, they let us know that day. A lot of advance notice.
So is Borough Council gonna get the ADA grant project final payment to approve next month? Says the engineers approve those, and we usually should do final payment if the ADA grant is done.
It's all discussion.
See if I think you do it next time.
Is there, do you guys give those packets out, or is that just for you guys up there?
No, it's usually a copy.
Agenda's here.
The packet's on the website.
Okay.
Get the whole packet, but it's like, it's pretty thick, but the agendas are there.
Well, we used to always have a copy here too. We usually have one copy for this.
Yes, we have this, we just,
Went to this, we got rid of it.
But it is on the website. You can actually look at it there from time to time.
Yeah.
so the rice picking project, they're still trying to pull that together, have that up in November. The AMI system I spoke about earlier tonight, is functioning as intended. And then there were some, items, well, the HERC update is, we're having our Halloween walkthrough on, 29th. And then, there were some, the grand opening for the Patrick Museum and Historical Society. There was some, there was, some photos of some storm damage that occurred during, Hurricane Ida. There are locations in the borough that have never been flooded like that before. Pension system state aid came in, plus a dividend check from Delaware Valley Liability Trust. And then there's a legal notice there for the zoning hearing that's going to take place 27th.
Right.
27th.
That'll be after the regular meeting, but if you wanna look at that and see if you have any concerns, normally I don't go to zoning hearing board unless borough council sends me either to support or to protest, so, you know, we should look at that, just take a look at it and see if you need the solicitor there for anything. In the back. That, yeah, I went past it, I went past it. There it is.
So, any questions, concern? So, the assistant manager, report, since, Jamie's absent, I'll try to do my best. We actually, Jamie and I participated in, the public meeting that was held, September 29th at the Township Building regarding the Liberty Bell Trail feasibility study. And I think it's about 25, 30 people showed up. I don't know if anybody's been to the Connector Road presentations they've had in public. It was sort of like the same format. There were poster boards of the concept, where the trail, you see the trail going, and what the next steps are. And the next steps, if you see the link there, go on to the Liberty Bell Trail website, and it'll bring you all up to speed of everything that was presented at the meeting on the 29th. So that is the Liberty Bell Trail is going to extend from Upper Gwinnett through Lansdale, Hatfield Township, Hatfield Borough, up in the Franconia, up in east of Franconia, up into Sourton and Pelham. So that's the goal. The borough and it's the only municipality that basically has its portion done, and Lansdale has pieces of it done. The 309 Connector Road, see there.
Sorry, Mark, so did anything come out of that that we should be concerned about, or anything from a cost standpoint, budget standpoint?
No, this was informational for residents, and it was, some of the concerns were, try to keep it at trail as much as possible, don't get it onto roads or sidewalks. If we're, some places you're gonna have to. Try to make it bike friendly, wide enough to be bike friendly, 6 to 8 feet wide, things like that were the concerns. But no real negative from it. But they were concerned that I participated. 309 Connector Road, the website's there, and we're let out phase 2, and starting to design phase 3. So someday that will come to completion. They have to let the project down. I don't believe they have done that yet. So once they let the project down, get the bids back, they're hoping for in 2022 have a shovel in the ground.
And that website is on our website.
Fire prevention open house, October 13th. Firehouse. And then there were some curb and sidewalk replacements that Jamie and Steve were working on, and they're still completing those for the next year's season's paving.
How about the ones on South Wayne that weren't done yet?
They will be, the contractor that we secured actually is in the hospital, so they were gonna have to come back and do those after the paving is done.
You only had a couple of years to get it done.
The residents had a couple of years, that's correct.
What kind of pressure did you put on them?
Anybody else have questions? Not, we'll continue item 9, new business.
So,
Students have money to pay for the utility truck. Everybody saw it, I think. This is part of the, Midland Avenue Bridge loan account. They included the truck. Favorable rates. Couple hours below budget. Calling for action, next being transferring back into the savings from earlier, transfer out to the general fund prior to receiving, our tax revenues, et cetera. That look like it could be semi-permanent transfer? It's through the end of the year?
it's gonna have to be for, next year's purposes.
Also an action item. Boy Scouts resolution. 1920.
Jamie did, the research and the work on this, and, it's quite interesting, we're gonna share, pages and pages of documentation, they provided for Jamie with this resolution here. The borough actually, became involved in 1963, that scout property, borough, scouts, learned the maintenance of the property of the borough in 1963.
There are events October 17th, from 1 to 4. Also on for action. Okay, ordinance 541, regulating small wireless that we discussed last meeting, I believe.
Yeah, this was, brought up last meeting, and Kate, went through this and put it together, so Kate, you wanna take that?
Sure. It's on tonight for authorization to advertise it so that you can take action on it at the regular meeting, okay? The General Assembly in Harrisburg passed a law that basically overrode all local zoning with regard to small wireless facilities. Those are, they're defined by their size, but they're basically like a microgrid for if you, and they wanna put them in the rights of way on existing, mostly existing telephone poles or electric poles, or even light stands. And the law is that they can do it, and that you can't prevent them from doing it. They have to be allowed everywhere in the municipality. So why are we going to the trouble of passing the ordinance? If you pass the ordinance, you have a little more control over it. If you don't, it just defaults to state law. This ordinance was actually written by, a guy who does our cable negotiations, right, Tom? And his office wrote up a sample. I changed it a little to give the borough more power. It exempts, it would have exempted out like, less than 25 at a time. Well, for heaven's sakes, the borough's not that big, it's less than a square mile. You could do the whole borough and we wouldn't get anything. You know, so I don't have any exemption left in there. It also allows for design guidelines, and, they have offered us a proposed design guideline. It would be my suggestion that we let the planning commission look at that. I put it in here, that it has to be built within the design guidelines. And my suggestion would be to give the deny permission if it's going to, get in the right of way of a pedestrian or a vehicle or like a person who's handicapped and has special needs or something. So you can avoid that. In general, they put these things on poles or they put them on wires. So if the poles are ours, what's not clear is you get to charge a fee because it's your right of way. You own the sidewalks, the roads, and everything that most of these poles are on. So you get to charge a fee and that's it, okay? And have a permit. It's not really clear that if you own the poles, you get to charge an additional fee. I would say yes. I don't know whether Mike has a feeling on that, but, because this actually applies to all municipalities across Pennsylvania, of which there are 2,500, of which only about 30 have their own electric poles. 35, okay, that's close. 35 have their own electric poles. So I think we can charge, but Mike says that here in the borough, we also have a lot of AT&T or Verizon poles, or PPL poles, or stuff like that. So if they cut a deal with one of those big guys, you still get to charge a fee because they're using our right of way, even though you can't stop them. And we may get to charge a fee if they make a deal with us, as has happened in the past. We've had these things on there. So that's basically it. So I recommend we do this because if you don't do it within 60 days of the effective date of the state law, they can't do it. And the 60th day of the effective date is something like October 30th. So your next meeting is the meeting. I have a court reporter. I can run the ad. Well, tonight you're only voting on running the ad, and then you'll vote for sure on the ordinance. So you have 2 weeks to read through it. Think of any questions you might have. Some of which it can be changed, but very little. This is mainly tracking the state law that says we have to allow them in every zoning district every year. Okay? I did have a bad experience with this in another township where they came in and installed a new pole right in front of somebody. It was a single family house on, let's say, a half-acre lot. Or they put the pole right smack in front of the picture window, and the people were furious. And we had a limited ability to stop it, and the ability to use was zoning. So that's why I do think we should go to the trouble of having a design standards. And it's a little harder to put it, you have to co-locate if you can. That's what the ordinance says. If you can't co-locate by putting it on a pole that already exists, you have to get permission. Okay? So we're not allowed to make it a special exception or variance or even a conditional use. But they have to tell us if they're gonna put the pole up, and that would give us the ability to say, wait a minute, move that pole over 20 feet. Or things like that. So that's basically it. Okay?
Is that 5G?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what it is, 5G?
It's for 5G. And other things. The example I was given, I may have mentioned this last time, was you have a whole neighborhood that's in your backyard for your kid's birthday party, and everybody's using their Wi-Fi to take pictures or movies or whatever. These things located close to the neighborhood, on telephone poles in every neighborhood, are gonna enable people all to be able to get access to Wi-Fi. So it's good from that perspective. It might be unsightly if we don't watch really.
So they're allowed to just come in and put them, they have the right.
Yeah, and what happens, as an example, the township that don't have poles, that doesn't have poles.
I'm probably gonna install, this is not valuable to the wireless carriers. So, that's why the ordinance here says you gotta co-locate if it's possible. Because, if the pole's already there, it's no big deal. If we put it high enough, it's not, nobody's gonna bump into it as they walk along the street or ride a bike or push a baby carriage or something.
Because of the density of most of the PMEA members, they're not really locating new poles in the boroughs.
No.
It's in the townships and.
Right.
So,
And in the rural parts, they actually want more access to Wi-Fi. It's pretty unstable out there. So they're fine, come, bring it on. But the cable company, the have lots of customers or clients for the wireless company. So they'll want to be here, and they'll want to upgrade their service.
Is that on for, consideration to advertise the case in a couple of weeks to have your questions?
I'm sorry, Jessica, do you have a question?
Does each provider have to, like, they have to have their own? Are they gonna be putting a whole bunch of those on each of these poles, or is it one? Or they're gonna put multiple in the poles, because from what I understand, like Verizon needs it, T-Mobile needs it, are they gonna be all bunching on like they do on the
Yeah, I don't
cell towers kinda?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that they co-locate on the poles,
Yeah.
on the towers. They do co-locate, they sell each other space.
Yeah. That's scary.
I thought they sell each other's space.
They do.
So that way, you don't have to have equipment from Verizon and T-Mobile or anyone else.
Right,
You know.
right.
But they're gonna put a lot of them in, if they get the opportunity, they're gonna try to put a whole bunch of them in.
Right, because people are demanding faster, more ready service. And they, they basically went to the state legislature and overrode local zoning.
But I think to your question, you're not gonna have one from T-Mobile, Verizon, you're not gonna have one, and then they pay the other companies pay to use them.
Yeah, but
Right,
they
yeah.
want it a certain amount of feet apart too. Like, that's what
Right,
they're-
right.
So it's gonna be,
Well, that's why in the design requirements, we're talking getting them all poles high up in the air, so it's not really gonna matter.
yeah, I hope so. That's
That's
not,
something we talked
that's not
about
good
Right.
stuff.
a month or so ago.
Right, so the people walking down the street aren't gonna bump their heads on it.
Are they gonna get them like away from, do they have anything in there about them not being near the schools, like where the kids go and stuff like that, or no?
No, in fact, it has to be allowed everywhere. It has to be allowed everywhere, even, I was surprised to see.
How did they do that?
I was surprised to see traffic lights. They can put them on traffic poles. It seems like traffic lights are busy enough, but they
Get
can.
attraction. But yeah, there's no impact from that from a radiation standpoint on kids or anything like that. So they've done study after study after study, that's a big, I don't want to say false rumor, but that's not, it doesn't happen, so.
6G's. Serious?
Huh? Well, look, they just came out 4G, what, a year ago, or 2 years ago, so yeah. It's progressive.
We're already developing
They
6G.
say that, but those headsets ain't good.
Well, they're
It
also
takes time
talking,
to really know what
they're also
these
talking
things
about
do.
not needing the cell towers at all in a few years. That's a way to come, but it's coming anyway. We don't have a lot of choice here, but I'm recommending that we do pass it so that, what choice we have. We can put it in the ordinance.
Hey, I need that, any questions like contractor or anything else? They have heard, and, these pieces put in place. So, halfway now, it's about to finish. This is recommended by, man. Behind it, there's a transfer of our funds for this project from savings back into the account for payment.
Do you have photographs of the bridges at the stations?
Have multiple photographs.
Okay.
I also did a time lapse that Jamie's working on editing of the actual precast pieces all going into place.
Okay.
We got every one except for the last 3 end wall, wing wall units, but the actual precast arches, we got every one of them.
Okay, that might be cool to see that, for the residents who want to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so DNF. For action, ends all our reports. Open it up to tax revenues, district ordinance.
the worker is, we ran into that already with one other contract. Decided not to get us to work. That, the comments that.
Or comment?
Carried. consider approval of resolution 2021-26